my skeins done up the first time, and what I have encountered now is that my ball winder was having a very hard time. It was moving inconsistently, and so this is what I've got. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got all of these pieces hanging out of the middle of each of the skeins in a hot mess. So I am going to rewind them all. Good morning, everyone. At least it's the morning for me on October 15th, a very rainy Friday here in South Surrey, British Columbia, which is just 45 minutes outside of Vancouver. Technically, it's like 20 minutes outside of Vancouver, but with traffic, it takes 45. My name is Linda. I am known as Nena Knits on Ravelry and Instagram, and this is the For Fun of Knit podcast. All about my knitting adventures, all my misadventures, which are plenty, and it's an opportunity for me to share what I'm making, and hopefully you're sharing what you're making, and hopefully this is a little bit entertaining of all things that are fiber related. This is a little podcast I'm doing in October because I have joined the Stephen West Mystery Cal for 2021, which is called Shawlography. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen my progress to date, and Clue 2 just landed. So I've done row 1. I'll share with you, I've done row 1. So I'm going to cover off Shawlography, obviously. I'm also going to show you the little progress I've made on my Speckle and Pop, and I'm going to show you my progress on my Christmas version of Slipstraveganza, which is very exciting. But in addition to that, I would like, and I'm going to start off with just showing you my 2 Halloween advents because they're all open now, and I don't know what I'm going to make with them, but they're gorgeous. They're absolutely lovely. As well as we're going to pick the winner for the comment from the last video, which was on which of the colorways you preferred. And so I had posted 16 colorways at the end of the last video, and that was for my Stephen West Shawlography, was to win a beautiful skein of Over the Moon yarn, which is gorgeous, and this is called Refraction. Oh, I love those colors. This is very hard. Look at this. Very difficult for me to give this up. This is just such a beautiful. It's on their Electron sock base, and I'm going to pair it with an Over the Moon bright orange. Oh, pardon me. This is Timber Yarns. My apologies. Timber Yarns. Mini sock contrast color, and I don't have my glasses on, so bear with me as I squinch. Neon orange. How much fun is that? So whoever wins this, direct message me or email me right away, and I'll put the information on the video because I'd like to get it out to you ASAP. And if not for Halloween this year, maybe for next year, or maybe you have something completely different in mind. Wonderful. So, let's start with the Halloween advents, just to get, I'm so excited about those. So this is all the beautiful colors, and I will include a picture at the end of this video with all of the different yarn names. But this is a collaboration with Trilogy Yarns and Stitching the High Notes. So Joanna of Stitching the High Notes made this beautiful bag. Oh, I absolutely love it, with the witches' hats and the cats and the magic book. And then these yarns are spectacular. Look at the colors of those. And my hair is everywhere. Sorry about the hair. I'm letting it air dry so it's still wet. So sorry, guys. But look at those colors. They're just absolutely stunning. I can't wait to make something. And what comes to mind for me is Chevis from Cheverell Stuff podcast. She made the V-back tee, which I've had in my queue for a long time. So that might be something that I do early next year. I'm not too sure, but I just love those colors. I think it's such a beautiful, playful range. And this is, again, Trilogy Yarns, and I'm just going to see if she tells me what the sock base is. Hang on, let me just get my... Nope, doesn't tell me what the sock base is. I should know that, but I can't remember. But what was I going to say about these? Based on the movie Practical Magic, which is a fave for this time of year. So all the colors are named out of pieces or sayings from that movie, which is so much fun. So absolutely love that. What I also want to just share is I did purchase, this is a little bit of acquisitions right off the bat. Sorry guys, a little out of order, but look at this Halloween bag. Another one. So this is my other Halloween bag that I just purchased, which is handmade by Diane on Etsy. She's got really cute bags as well. So Joanna from Stitching the High Notes has an Etsy shop, and that's her logo. And she's the one who partnered with Trilogy Yarns, Nancy from Trilogy Yarns. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. And she's got an Etsy shop and beautiful bags, really nice quality, thick drawstring, very, very nice. Turn into little buckets. And then this one's just a sock bag that I bought because I just love the neon pops of color. So there you have it. There's one of my Advents. The other Advent I kind of laughed at because I don't remember where it's from. It was actually from 2020 and it got lost. It didn't get lost in the mail, but it got stuck at the US border. We live right at the edge of the Canadian-US border, so we have a post office box over there. And yeah, unfortunately, some things got sent there, and then of course I couldn't pick them up because of COVID. So missed Halloween last year, but this was the other yarn. The Trilogy collaboration with Stitching the High Notes, the Practical Magic Advent, was 20 gram skeins. Oh, I forgot to say, back to the Practical Magic one, it also came with this beautiful, look at this. This is absolutely gorgeous. This is her 80-20 base. So Trilogy yarns it's a one of a kind or specific for this Advent is, it's called Practical Magic. Look at all those colors. Oh my God, it's beautiful and it's super squishy. So loving that. So that said, this, if anybody recognizes, if anybody out there bought this Halloween Advent last year and remembers getting this cute little notions pouch with bats on it, so cute. And it's all sort of it's a Harry Potter themed one for sure. All the colors are Harry Potter. And again, a lot of fun, really cute, but this is a 10 gram mini skeins. But then it also came with, on day 15, a homespun house, yay, Hogwarts, pardon me, a Harry Potter colorway called, oh, my glasses are fogged up, Mad Eye Moody. Mad Eye Moody. Look at how beautiful that is. Oh, I'm loving these. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to have a lot of fun working with these two Advents. So a lot of fun. That Advent also came with, so again, if you guys remember this, somebody tell me, with a Simply Sewing, I think it's called Simply Sewing, charm, which is a little white mouse, which is so adorable. That was truly a mystery. How appropriate for Halloween. I have no idea. I've lost all the information. I have no idea. I even checked all my statements to find out if I could figure it out. Nope. Can't figure it out. But that was my Advents. Now, why don't let's cut to the chase because I know you're all waiting for it. The winner of the Over the Moon yarn, I have loaded it up on the YouTube comment selector. So I am going to hit start. If I hit start, and this is who is going to be the winner. Hang on. That is the winner. I can't even see it at the moment, but you see it before I do. Oh my goodness, it's the Ruth Loves to Knit podcast. Oh my goodness. And that's one of the things I wanted to mention is Ruth Loves to Knit is a new podcaster that I found. She's not new, I guess. Maybe she's been doing it for just under a year. And she's out of Devon in the UK. And I have been watching her podcast and she's a hoot. She's a lovely, lovely knitter. And we have sort of connected over the internet. And Oh my goodness, Ruth, you obviously have luck on your side because you are now going to be the recipient of these two beautiful Over the Moon skeins. So congratulations, Ruth. That's hilarious. Love it. And hey, it's for the fun of knit, folks. So I think I had a couple of individuals put comments in just after the 13th of October, and I did include them because what is the point of having a For Fun of Knit podcast if you don't include everybody? So for those of you that put a comment in after the 13th, you were included in that random draw. So now let's talk about Stephen West. So Shawlography. Do I have the picture of Shawl? I'll put a picture somewhere of the mystery. This is a mystery knit along that Stephen West does every single year in October. This is my third, I do believe. None of which I finished. This is the first one I'm going to try and attempt to finish. What I will say is I am not looking at the spoiler alerts. I am not watching his videos unless I get stuck on a specific spot, then I'm going to that one spot, but I'm not going ahead. I don't want to know what it's going to look like. There's something about that mystery that I think is very appropriate for this time of year, and I kind of like it. I am trusting in his direction, Stephen West's direction, and his, you know, the way he's placed the colors. That's the hardest part for me, is because I'm never sure of my colors, and I think that's a pretty common comment from people participating in mystery knit-alongs. One, you don't know if you're going to like the shawl design, and two, you don't know if you're going to like the color combinations. You might like the colors that you've picked, but the way they're put together might be different. Now, you do have some discretion, obviously, but here's where I am so far. This is on Instagram, and this is not a spoiler alert because Clue 1 is done and dusted all over Instagram. But this is how it's turning out, and you can see this is ribbing. These are wedges of different colors. Look at that. All the way along. And then you get this really fun slip stitch pattern that creates, I don't know what they are. I don't even know what to call them. But how colorful is that? And then you do these I-cord loops. Look at this. These are I-cord loops all the way along this section of the shawl, which, oh my goodness, that's fun. And so I'm not going to talk about Clue 2. What I will say is Clue 2 has 5 sections, 5 through 9, and the stitch count is going to start growing. So my plan of attack to stay on track is to today, which is Friday the 15th, try and finish sections 5 and 6. Tomorrow I'll hopefully do 7, Sunday 7, Monday and Tuesday will be 8, and then Wednesday and Thursday and maybe Friday will be 9, because the way I'm thinking about it, the farther we get into the shawl, the more stitches there will be, the longer it will take to do each section. So I have got to motor quickly on the shorter sections and get them done to leave me enough time. Now keep in mind, this isn't the only thing I'm working on. Oh no, let me just show you very quickly where I am with my Slipstraveganza. So you have been on this journey with me where I cut it out. So I'm going to include a few videos in here that I took in the last couple of days as I was working on that shawl, and catch you up as to where I am. So here we go. Okay, so as you know, I am trying to recreate my Slipstraveganza shawl. So this is a wonderful pattern by Stephen West. That's the Slipstraveganza cover. Don't know if I can find, if I find a better picture, I'll try and insert it up here for you. But as you know, I didn't like the first section of the shawl that I did. Okay, so this was my old first section 1 of the shawl, and I didn't like the colors. For those of you that this might be your first show, I'm doing a Christmas version of Slipstraveganza by Stephen West, which was the 2020 mystery knit along. And I chose traditional Christmas colors, gold, green, and red. But the the yarns that I chose just weren't the right ones, not the right tones, not the right way that they variegated. Hated this. So I reknit it completely, which I showed in my last video. And so here is the reknit version, much happier. All of these you might not be able to see, but the pink, the green, and the blue are all stellina. So they've got a nice little bit of festivity in them. And now I am trying to, because I cut this out of my shawl, this is part 2 and 3 of the shawl, and I didn't want to undo all of this. So I thought, why don't I try surgery? So I cut section 1 away from section 2 and 3, and I'm now trying to figure out how do I reattach them. So without a lot of giving everything away, because this is a paid for pattern, on section 1, now I'm on to section 2. I'm starting section 2, so I'm starting, which section? So I'm starting this section here, which I have put live stitches. Once I cut it away, I put live stitches on a lifeline. And I am trying to reattach this part. Now what I configure is every point of the honeycombs, this point, this point, this point of the honeycombs, I'm having to pick up stitches. So Stephen West tells you, you got to pick up stitches along here, which is what I'm doing. So I'm picking up these stitches and this is the bottom or the top of it, I guess. You got to pick up all these stitches, and then you got to pick up stitches again on the points as you go around, and somehow that has got to reattach to the live stitches here and on these bars. So these bars are pretty easy, but where I got to join it in the middle, I don't know yet. So the next step is to finish picking up all the stitches as Stephen West has described, which I haven't finished yet. I've just started picking up the stitches on those edges. And then knit a couple of rows and figure out, am I going to Kitchener them? Am I going to 3-needle bind off? How am I going to blend it together? So bear with me. I'm going to finish this and I'll come back to you when I have figured out what I'm going to do. Stay tuned. Okay, so the saga continues. I have continued with section 2, and I have, as per his instructions, done all the connecting of stitches for all my honeycombs, and then I have purled a row. And now what I have to do is match all of these stitches to all of the stitches in section 2. Sorry, I don't know where I'm looking here. And what I've done with this is I had put in I tried to save as many stitches as I could when I cut it using some waste yarn, but I didn't know exactly which stitches to save. Turns out I didn't save enough of them. So I painstakingly went back and put, I counted how many stitches were on here in between these, like the end of each honeycomb was 3 stitches, and then there was 9 stitches in between. And so I figured that that corresponds with the 3 stitches in these rows and 9 stitches in between. So I painstakingly went back and put on a needle. I picked up all the stitches on my cutoff section. So that is now on a needle. This is now on a needle. And what I think I'm going to do, so I've given this some thought, and I think I'm going to do the Icelandic Bind Off. So I'm actually going to bind these off together. So holding them together, so this is section 2s and 3s and section 1, and I am going to actually do an Icelandic Bind Off. Because 1, it's very stretchy, and 2, it has a nice finish to it. So instead of just a plain 3-needle bind off, I'm actually going to do an Icelandic bind off with sort of a combination, a 3-needle Icelandic bind off. Because I don't think Kitchener stitch is going to work. It's not going to have enough give, and I need it to stretch so it doesn't pull. So I'm going to give that a go. I will try and video me doing that a little bit, but if that fails, then you will just see the end product of me trying to bind these two together and get them to all match up. Anyway, hope that works. Stay tuned. Okay, so I'm back. What I have figured out is that you can't do an Icelandic bind off with 3 needles. That doesn't work. So I'm just doing a 3-needle bind off with an extra loop around the needle every time just to create a little bit more stretch. Don't know that that's actually working, but overall my joining is working, which is kind of fun, which I'll show you where I haven't gotten far, but sorry, trying to hold 3 needles together while holding the bottom part and the top part. And I'm hoping you can see that my section 1, oh, I don't know how to show this to you. My section 1 is actually joined to my section 2. Sorry guys, this is really difficult. Is actually joined right all along here. I don't know if you can see that, right along there. And you can see that it's joined there. And so it's actually working. And so now I'm joining this next loop. These next loops you'll see are just going to be joining along, and they're matching. I'm sorry, I'm looking into the camera to see where I'm matching the end of every honeycomb to a stripe. So again, hopefully you can see this, that my honeycomb ends are matching up to one of these lines. So it's working. Is it pretty? Don't know if you can see it. It's not beautiful, but I don't think, once I block it out, I don't think anyone's gonna notice but me. So stay tuned. I'll check back in when I get farther along. Okay, completely stoked. It's 9 o'clock at night. Patrick and I were watching a really terrible Liam Neeson movie, and I just continued to graft with a 3-needle bind off my shawl. And ladies and gentlemen, look at this. The colors aren't going to show well because the lighting is so bad at the moment, but there you have it. I was successful in actually cutting out my shawl. I'm trying to think about where I keep doing this. I never have all the pieces together, but cutting out this piece, re-knitting it, and then actually grafting it together. So 3-needle bind off, my shawl is going to look different than everybody else's, obviously, because it's going to have this thick band right at the beginning of section 2, which it's not supposed to have, but it looks actually quite good. I will take some photos of it. And when I block it out, I think it's going to turn out all right. So now, rather than having torn the whole thing out and starting from scratch, I only had to re-knit this part and then graft the two together, and I did that with a 3-needle bind off. So this process took me probably from cutting it out, putting all the stitches on, never mind knitting this part, I mean that not included, but to graft it all together, to cut it and regraft it, it probably took me a good 3.5 hours, I would say, to redo it. And the majority of the time was picking up the stitches, the appropriate stitches on the bottom section. Re-knitting this part was a breeze. and that's one of the things I loved about this pattern, if you're thinking about doing Slipstraveganza, is section 1, you start with this very wide section and it goes to a narrow point. So you end up having to knit less and less and less and less. So it's actually quite addictive to do section 1. Section 2, you end up opening it up with these lovely little donut holes, and then starting section 2, which is this beautiful, just sort of mosaic. It's actually a slip stitch pattern, not mosaic, it's probably slip stitch. And then section 3 is this brick pattern. And I think my colors are going to work out just perfectly. And I apologize for my lighting. It's not good lighting, and I will show better pictures of it in another video. But I just wanted to share with you that it actually worked. Yay! So that was my goal for October for this shawl, the Slipstraveganza by Stephen West. And so now I am going on to section 4 of the shawl, but I'm not going to start that until after I have finished Shawlography. So this is a November project for me to finish my Christmas shawl. I am so excited. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking with me through this process. And I guess the learning here is don't be afraid. I'm just so excited that it worked. I get a real kick out of that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. Okay, so you saw those where I am, and hopefully this is slightly nicer light to show you, but I cannot emphasize enough how thrilled, I can't see this, but how thrilled I am with how this has turned out. It's a little bumpy and it's a little, you know, I don't know, it's not blocked or anything, and I haven't finished it obviously, but this is it, and I'm so happy with how this is turning out as far as a Christmas themed shawl. So I will not be picking this up again in the month of October. I'm going to pick it up in November because I'd like to get it finished. I might even wait until December. I'm not too sure. So now what I have is a completed section 1, section 2, and section 3. And I can't remember how many sections, might be 7 sections in that shawl. But absolutely loving it now. It was well worth all the noodling, the effort, and the risk of just taking my scissors to my yarn and cutting it all up. So I hope you enjoyed that process, and I hope it encourages you that if there's something that you don't like about a garment, that you're not, you know, sometimes I've heard of the Woolly Thistle, can't remember the podcaster's name, sorry, it's escaping me, but she actually knit a whole sweater, hated it, didn't like the way the yoke was working, so she cut the sweater right under the yoke, re-knit a whole new yoke, and then grafted the body to the yoke. So it just goes to show you that, you know, knit a project, go with it, go with whatever is entertaining you at the time, but if you don't like it in the end, don't necessarily ditch it right away or rip it out right away. Is there something else that you could do with it that, you know, might work? Like re-knitting a portion of it, cutting it up and re-knitting a portion of it. So that was the Slipstraveganza, which is so much fun. And the last one I'm going to show you, which I just have to grab because I don't have it with me, is my Speckle and Pop. So hang on 2 seconds. So this is my Speckle and Pop shawl so far. Oh, I love the colors on this too. And this is a very gentle fade so far for Stephen West Speckle and Pop. I'll put a picture somewhere. But you start with a light gray in a contrasting color, and then you move to a medium colored gray. And I'm just now at the section, so since I talked to you last, where is my progress keeper? My progress keeper is right here. So I did these last 4 wedges of the, or whatever you're going to call them, of the medium gray, and now I have to start blending in. I think there's 5 repeats of blending in the darker gray, the last gray color, and then 10 repeats of all in the dark gray. And again, if you want to know anything about the yarns I've chosen, you can see my previous episodes, but this shawl is designed where you can use individual minis, or I'm using just a variegated, and I'm using the variegated yarn specifically for this because this is an Ancient Arts Socknado yarn. Hope you can see that, my light's quite bright. And the actual name, the reason I bought it is because it's called I Met Stephen West and I Liked It. So how could I not put that in a Stephen West shawl? So that is my progress on my Stephen West knits, and October will continue to be all about Stephen West knits as I progress on Shawlography. So I hope that you have enjoyed that little update. I will be doing, oh, I don't know, I guess I was going to do a regular podcast, but I'm really not getting a chance to knit on much else. I am knitting on Patrick's sweater in between everything, so hopefully in one of my next mini podcasts I'll be able to update you on that. And then we will get back to regular scheduled programs towards the end of October and into November. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you was what happened to all the colorways, who chose what colorway. So I had posted 16 colorways at the end of the last video, and that was for my Stephen West Shawlography. Turns out number 7 and 8 were exactly the same. There you go. So I just thought you would find it interesting in terms of the sequence. I will put pictures at the end showing from most popular to least voted for. I'm not going to say it wasn't popular, but least voted for colorways. And I think that's a great exercise for anybody to go through. It doesn't matter how big or small your stash is. Just start putting colors together and take pictures of them, because then you'll remember the colorways that you actually liked and thought were quite cool. And then you might save yourself some time for the next project, which now I have 3 or 4 color palettes that I can just go bang. Those are things that I want to make a shawl with. So that was a really fun process. So thank you so much for participating, and congratulations, Ruth. Very happy for you. Anyway, thanks everybody for hanging around, and for those of you who are new to my channel, if this is your first time, thank you so much for giving my little YouTube channel a shot. And if you are returning, which many of you are, thank you everybody. Have a wonderful day, and I'll check in with you next week as we go into clue 3 of the Shawlography with Stephen West's Mystery Cal 2021. Take care.